He has a beard and he has a mustache. He looks like dressed up in white. He's very bright. He is Heavenly Father's son. Jesus is our brother.
He'd sacrifice a lot.
He tells us to care about other people.
He'd warn people about stuff, and make sure they're all safe because he cares about each one of us.
Candle of faith, candle of faith, candle of faith is let you in Jesus. We are your children, we are your children. Make every steps with you, and faith with hope and love. We learn, we believe, we witness in Jesus.
Good evening to all. Eparchy of Mississauga Department of Catechesis is introducing an online platform this year for catechism, instruction, and faith formation from junior kindergarten to grade 12. It is a combined effort of all parishes and mission centers of the eparchy. Staff orientation programs were conducted in the regional levels to give guidance to catechism teachers. It was a frequent question from the teachers that how to conduct an online class and what all things are to be taken care. So the possibility of a model hybrid class was suggested by the catechists themselves. Now this session includes opportunities and challenges of online classes and a small presentation of a class for the reference of teachers. I invite Dr. Tipu Thomas, the grade 10 catechism teacher of St. Alphonsus Syro Catholic Foreign Church, Edmonton, who is also a member of the Eparchy Pies Association Center team and the director board member of Western Regional Department of Family Apostolate to lead this demonstration. His students Shreya Saju, Alvin, and Leon Tommy are also joining in this session. Mrs. Shanti Paulos, Western Region Catechism Secretary, will be delivering the vote of thanks. Welcome, Dr. Tipu Thomas and dear students.
Good morning, everyone, or good evening, or good afternoon, whatever the time frame when you're seeing this video. A very welcome to all of you. So as Father introduced, we are going to do a kind of orientation video today. Thank you, Shreya, Leon, and Alvin for participating in this orientation program. Thank you, Father Augustine, for coordinating it, and thank you, Shanti, for organizing and all the technical supports. So what we are going to see today, I'll start with a kind of general note, just adding to what Father Augustine told and why we are going for this online module. And we are just going to kind of see some kind of what is the expectation about the online classes. Then I'll move forward to some tips for the teachers. It is a kind of general 10 tips. Then we'll have a demo class. Demo class here means it is the actual class. We got 3 students with us, so it will be performed as an actual class. Then we'll have questions and discussions around the classes, and we'll have a kind of conclusion. To start with, a kind of general note about why we are going for online classes at this time. We very well know the pandemic, the situation what we are going through. And to keep us safe, all the students safe, and all of us safe, we need to kind of go for a way that is the virtual platform. Why we are doing it? We need to do the continuum of catechism education, irrespective of what the kind of situations we are going through. That is to make sure that we are giving that fruit to our children and we are guiding their catechism journey. And this is going to be very relevant in a kind of situation when they are facing this kind of tough situation. So it is very relevant that we need to continue with our catechism education and we are adapting this virtual platform. To move forward, what is expected out of these online classes? I just would like to start with a kind of firm point. This is a real class. Being a kind of virtual platform learning or being a kind of virtual classroom, it doesn't mean that it is something that we can access from anywhere, or it's going to be very easy, or it's going to be very flexible. uh, yeah, it's all of that, but it is a real class. So, being a kind of teacher, we should be able to recognize that, we should be able to understand that, and we should be able to perform in that way. So, treat this as a kind of real class. And we are going to be stressing on the another point. We need to be accountable for what we are doing. So, we need to set an expectation. We need to check the progress. And if we're having a kind of trouble holding responsible to do these online classes, we need to seek help and we need to be proactive and self-aware about what you can do and what we need to expect from the online platforms. We need to be alert and active because once we have established, we know like how we can encourage our students, but we need to find out that way to be active in the class to make the students active and always we need to check on them in the sense that are they understanding what we are speaking to them or are they able to follow the video, and we need to make them that they are able to listen. One greatest thing about this, I was talking in many times, a kind of regular attention span for a normal student is from 15 to 20 minutes. And when that comes into a kind of online virtual platform, it's going to be tough for them to have the concentration even to keep into that 15 minutes because we ourselves know how much we might be distracted by a cell phone or a kind of watching TV. When we get a TV that we have all the things from Netflix to YouTube and everything, we might be changing in between. When we get a kind of phone, we might be going through a kind of lot of things at the same time. Some phones have a kind of dual screens, so you can see or watch the things in either way, and that's very distracting for us. So imagine that from our students, like using this online virtual platform, they might be joining from a cell phone, they might be joining through a kind of laptop, whatever it is, the chances to get them distracted is very much. So we need to keep them active and alert, and we need to be consistent in approach how we are delivering the classes to them. We have a kind of very good structured pattern suggested by the Eparchy. Most of us will be following that one, but there might be something to ensure that consistency, that what we can do from our side, we need to take an effort to identify that and to implement that. We need to be organized and prepared. As I mentioned in the beginning, this is a real class, and we all know that there is going to be a online video recorded learning lessons that we are going to show them. So when we are showing them, that doesn't mean that that is the only kind of thing for that particular class. Before we show the video to them, we should make them to understand what is going to be in the video and what the lessons we are going to talk about on that particular day, and what is expected from the students at the end of the class. And we should be organized and prepared to answer the questions. We should be very much conscious about the time. That means being a kind of virtual platform, we are flexible, but we got a kind of time slot. It might be a kind of 1 hour or 45 minutes. We need to better utilize our time and the students' time when they're coming to the classes. We should be very much conscious about the time, how much time we are taking for each aspects in that. We should follow those kind of time schedule, and we should never try to overlap that time schedule. Speaking about those kind of Bs, we are going into some tips for the teachers to follow in this online virtual media of learning or teaching. As I mentioned earlier, Eparchy of Mississauga in the August bulletin has a kind of very good description about the online classes expectation and what should be followed in the classes and what teachers should be doing in order to fulfill a kind of greater learning experience for the students. Always just refer that. But I'm just going to be very 10 practical tips what we need to follow in that. Always try to show your faces. I know sometimes it might be very um, unexpected kind of situations we might be going through. Some of us might be shy. Some we might be very excited or some kind of situations where we are going. But always try to show the faces when you're doing, especially when you're a teacher, when you're teaching your students through online classroom. I read a couple of very good articles where it shows that when the teacher shows the faces, it makes a significant difference. Teachers, when teachers show the faces, students see that the teacher is like on online. She is teaching us, and she might be seeing us the things on kind of things. But the kind of results from that readings, it shows that showing your faces make a kind of big difference for the students to be very much attentive. And the second valid point that we should be concentrating, we should be testing out our technical support, technical things before we start the class. Just from a kind of previous experience, what we had, we made sure today before we start the session that everyone can hear to the videos, everyone can see the slides. So sometimes these technical difficulties might take a lot of time from us, so that will be a kind of simply lagging that time. So we need to be prepared in advance to show that these videos working, slides are working. We need to make sure that all the students can access the documents and online portal. We had a kind of situation today before we started classes. One of the students could not join the classes, or neither of us could hear the videos, or hear the audios or see the videos. So we made sure that he is getting connected to us, and we just waited for 5 minutes for him to rejoin to us. So we need to take that effort. We doesn't want to do that at the time of the classes, but before we can take an initiative to do that before. Just reach to them or text them in a kind of common platform where we have a kind of WhatsApp group or something. Hi, we are starting our class at 11:30. I hope that every one of you have access to your computers or mobiles. Just make that check-in before, so we can ensure the participation from all the students. We need to give specific instructions or pause the presentation in between for any possible questions. As I told in the beginning, we will have a kind of pre-made videos what we are showing as lessons to the students. That's going to be given by the Eparchy. That's going to be consistent across the Eparchy. Some of the videos might be having a kind of little more speed in that. There might be a kind of lesser clarity in hearing or something. A kind of technical difficulties might be. But even if it is going to be a perfect video too, we need to pause in between to make sure that the students can follow it. As I told at the beginning, that attention span make a big difference, especially kind of being in a kind of online world, and no one is going checking at like in a classroom. There might be chances of distraction, so it is our responsibility that we are making sure that students can follow it. We need to provide interactive activities. At the end of this session today, after the classes, we might demonstrate a kind of discussion. It's going to be a kind of open discussion. So that's a kind of interaction activities. But we have a lot of avenues using the virtual platform to do that interaction. One of them might be using a kind of discussion rooms in the Zoom platform. How to make that, all those kind of things, how to set up that one is available. A kind of education series in YouTube. Just try to download them and try to listen how you can make that breakup rooms for the discussions. That is a very good platform. If you have a kind of 10 or 15 or 20 students in the classroom, you can split them into 3 or 4 or groups, give them a topic to discuss, and they can have the discussion. And as a teacher, you can go into each groups to listen to them. You can come back with the same situations what we are going, what we used to do in a classroom discussions type. So use those kind of avenues, or just get those knowledges from your friends or fellow teachers or someone who is very techy, or you can download it from YouTube. There's a lot of video teachings on that. Speaking about that one, the activities and the discussions, we need to be very careful about what the group communications are. When we are sending them to in a group where we are not physically monitoring them, there might be chance they might be talking about something else. I believe that all of our students are good. They take our instructions, they just do the discussions, but there might be a possibility that they can deviate from that topic. So we need to make some kind of effort to go into the groups if we are doing, or if we are doing it as a kind of one group, we need to make sure that we are sticking on to that subject of discussion. They're not deviating. And being a teacher, you are in control of that one. And we need to set reasonable expectations in that online platform. A kind of lengthy discussion is not going to be possible in that avenue. So in that situations, you need to make sure that you're giving only a kind of 5 minutes or maximum 10 minutes. Uh, or again, that is considerable of your time, how much time you're spending on that education, like the classes on Sundays. So make sure that you are able to complete that task in that set of time, and it is not going to be a kind of very lengthy task they need to do. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, that we need to be reaching out to the students that they are able to follow the classes. And this also means that you can inform your students that next Sunday we are going to learn lesson 2 or lesson 3. You can just ask them, request them to have a kind of quick reading of that particular lesson. Be prepared with any of the questions, and when they listen to that particular video, after the video they can certainly just get their questions if they are prepared in a kind of way. That also makes helps them to see that what they can expect from the next class, so they might have a kind of very good thought to discuss when you are having a kind of activity or something like. So always try to reach out to students to inform them and to just check out that they can access all the virtual platforms. We need to be transparent, and we need to be acknowledging any kind of challenges. Speaking about this one, the transparency is from our side. I understand that a few of the teachers, or even most of the teachers, might not be that familiar using the virtual platforms. I do have a kind of lot of technical difficulties even after using this same platform for a couple of months now, or using it for a longer time. What we do, we seek the help. Sometimes our students might be very efficient than us. We can reach out to them just to get the help. Just tell them that I'm having a kind of technical difficulty. I'm just trying to learn it. If you have a kind of tip for me, just let me know so I can just resolve that. So we need to accept that challenges and any kind of troubles using that system. Or if we are not able to follow that virtual platform, we just let them know, and we need to learn from each other, especially in the kind of greater grades. They might be able to help you a lot. Or we can seek the help from our fellow catechism teachers. Or if they can't help, we can get some help from our community who is a tech support might be. The last point I should specify is that we should be very consistent in our structure. That means we have a structure to follow in the class, what worked the best. If you think that giving out all that introduction and having a kind of general discussions, then go for the video if that is a kind of good structure for you. You are the teacher who is going to find out what structure works best for you. Find that out and try to stick on to that structure, and make sure that it is going to be a very facilitated learning experience. So those are some of the tips and the general expectations. With all those things reflecting to those greater points,